Virtuous Woman, where I inspire women to think like the woman in Proverbs 31, spiritually, financially, and also relationally. So today I'm going to be talking about why it is so important for you to seek healing before seeking a romantic relationship. Let me just start off by saying that there are always going to be things that we need to heal from. There are always going to be things that we need to work on. So this is not to imply that you need to be perfect before seeking a relationship. This is not to imply that you need to heal from, every single thing that you've ever been through before entering a relationship, because that's just impossible. As long as we are on this side of heaven, there's always going to be some hurt. There's always going to be some pain. There's always going to be some trauma that we're going to be dealing with. That's just life. That's just how things are. It's so important to seek healing before seeking a relationship because, relationships are going to bring its own trauma, so this is why it's so important to, try to heal as much as you can while you're still single, because there's going to be some things, honestly, that you're not even going to realize that you need to heal from until you're in a relationship. That person is going to say or do something that's going to trigger something in you that you may not have even realized was there. And so this is, one of the first tips that I'll give you is that, because there's going to be some things that don't come about. And it's not that it's necessarily, on purpose. Is that, you're going to be disappointed at some point in your relationship. I don't care how perfect things are in the beginning, how perfect things start out. There's going to be something that he or she does that's going to trip you up, that's going to trigger something that you've been through, that's going to trigger maybe a childhood wound that you've been carrying around, that maybe you hadn't even realized you've been carrying it, but something that they said or did is going to take you back to something that happened when you were 7 or 8 years old, right? Or something is going to happen that's going to remind you about something that the last person did in the last relationship you were in. So this is why it's so important to seek healing while you're in your single season, because there's going to be things that come along with that relationship. And iron sharpens iron. I believe in godly relationships. This is just a given. I mean, besides the fact that we have a real enemy that is against godly relationships, we also are going to have some, things that come up that's going to be by design, to sharpen you, by design to make you face those traumas and issues that you maybe been running away from, that you knew about and running away from, or maybe you didn't know and, it just got triggered, but either way, relationships come with their own trauma. So it's best to try to address those things that you know about while you're still single. So if you deal with abandonment issues or rejection issues or whatever, now these are things that you want to be, trying to heal from now, because once you're in a relationship, they're going to magnify, and then there's going to be some other things that's going to be triggered as well. Another reason you want to seek healing before seeking a relationship is so you won't look to that person to be your all in all, right? So if you are, a person who has suffered from abandonment, you tend to be more clingy to people in relationships, and you tend to look for happiness outside of yourself, and you look for it in other people. And that kind of makes me think of attachment styles. It's very important, and I can do a separate video on attachment styles, but it's very important to know your attachment style, because your attachment styles kind of reveal to you why you are the way you are. But anyway, in a relationship, your person, your partner should be adding to the happiness that you already have, the happiness that you've already attained while you were still single. Because some of us make the mistake, and I remember years ago, I had to always be talking to somebody, right? I needed to be going out on a date with somebody. It took me a long time to get to a point where I was okay with being, just single and by myself. And I actually got to a point that from 2016 to 2020, I hadn't been dating anybody. That was the longest I had ever gone with not dating anybody, not having somebody that I was talking to every day. And 2016, I had finally got to that point where I was okay with being single. I was writing books. I was, walking in my purpose. I started my YouTube channel and blogging and things like that. I had purpose. And so that's one of the keys to being able to be single and be happy and be content, right? is finding purpose, finding those things that you love to do, finding, because purpose gives you a reason to wake up every day and keep going. Many of us have jobs that we work, we have careers, but not necessarily purpose. But when you have purpose, you have something to look forward to. You have something that makes you happy, something that you can even see yourself doing without getting paid. That's how you know that you're walking in your purpose. But, you definitely want to make sure that you are not looking to somebody to be your all in all, because, that's not going to last anyway. If you're looking for somebody to be your all in all, to make you happy, they may give you that satisfaction for a minute. You get that person, you feel high off love for a minute, but then that eventually fades away. And then you begin pulling from them, and you begin pulling from them until you drain them, because you're looking for them to do something for you that they were never meant to do, which is make you happy. Another reason you want to seek healing before seeking a relationship, because you lessen your risk of choosing wrong. When you are coming from a place where, and like I mentioned before, we all are going to have some healing that we're going to be doing, for the rest of our lives, right? So none of us are going to magically arrive to a point where we don't have anything to heal from. But when you are in a place where you have not addressed any of your childhood traumas, you have not addressed any past relationship traumas, you tend to choose the wrong person. As I mentioned before, a lot of people, they can't, because they're not healed, they can't be alone. So, when you're unhealed, you tend to choose just anybody who can give you what you need at that moment, right? And most likely, the person that you find yourself attaching to in that unhealed place is not the first person for you. It's not the right person for you, because you're not choosing from a level head. You're not choosing from your best. You're choosing based on what you feel you can get at that moment, right? You haven't done the necessary work on yourself, so you don't have the standards that you'll have once you get to that healed place. You're also more likely to look past red flags. When you get to a point where you've been doing the necessary work on yourself, you've been healing, you've become a better person, you've been addressing childhood traumas and no longer, blaming other people for things that that you need to work on yourself, you begin to desire a partner who are also doing those things. Like, you don't want just anybody. Like, they're going to have to come to you correct, whereas from an unhealed place, you're more likely to deal with somebody else who's unhealed, because you two can kind of, they call it trauma bonding, like where two people, they find each other, they both have abandonment issues, and then, they just find comfort in each other. They call that trauma bonding. But let's just say two people have bonded because of trauma. One person begins to heal and, take the necessary steps. They become a better person. And all of a sudden, that person realizes that they don't truly love that person that they trauma bonded with. Now that person who has not healed in that relationship, now they're left and hurt and trying to figure out what's going on. And that's because, that person has found themselves, that the healed person has found themselves. And when you become healed, you do find yourself. You become a person that you never imagined yourself to be. Like, you wouldn't even think that it's possible to be this person. I can speak from experience. It's been a process, because we have to think about the fact that it took a lifetime to become this unhealed, broken person. And it's not going to, be overnight. It's not going to happen. The change is not going to happen overnight. It's a daily process. But once you get to that point where, like, I've done the necessary work, and, you get turned off by people who make excuses, because, okay, I know, how hard it was, but I still did it, so you start kind of, expecting other people to do the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's just you have a different expectation. I always say the more I grow, the higher my standards go. And that's because as I become a better person, a better woman, and become the woman that God has called me to be, my expectations and what I desire in a man and in a godly relationship is higher than what it was years ago. And the last thing I'll leave with you is that, you want to seek healing before seeking a relationship, because, you don't want to hurt people, right? They say hurt people. some hurt people intentionally, but then you have some hurt people who hurt people unintentionally, right? Because you can be so damaged, so traumatized that you get into a relationship with somebody who really loves you, who really cares about you, and who can potentially really, be the person that you need. But then you, because of your unhealed trauma, because of your, childhood wounds that you've yet addressed, you're no good to that person. You constantly hurt them. And you may not even realize it. You may not even want to, but there's something in you that's keeping you from truly being able to be present for that person. It's keeping you from being able to truly love that person and accept the love that they are trying to give you. And I've been on both sides of that. I've been on the side where I was that unhealed person and I couldn't receive the love. And that's because I didn't think I deserved it. And sometimes that might be you. You don't think you deserve what's being presented to you. So you push it away and you hurt that person who genuinely likes you. And I've also been on the other side where I genuinely liked the man, and he was so traumatized by the past relationships he's had, and also some childhood stuff. And he didn't tell me this, but because he kind of told me some of the things he'd been through, I kind of brought it up to him that I believe he had some childhood trauma to heal from, on top of the relationship trauma that he'd experienced. And because of that, and I tried, but there was nothing that I could say or do, to make him realize how much I cared, how much I, how much I really liked him and I was there for him. And so being that unhealed person, you are bleeding on other people. You're hurting other people and not even realizing, not even, intentionally. And if you are one of those people who are intentionally hurting people, that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother video, but if you are one of those people who are unhealed and you finding yourself, people are saying the same things to you over and over. They're trying to love you, and for some reason they can't, and you find yourself hurting people over and over, that lets you know right there that you have some healing, some childhood trauma and wounds that you need to address. So if you hung in here with me and stayed to the end, thank you so much for watching. If you have a prayer request, a video suggestion, or a question, feel free to email me. There's so much more I can say about this, but I just kind of wanted to keep this short and straight to the point. So thank you again for visiting my channel. Be blessed.